dude. We've got like pros on the show, not Marco.
I know, it's okay. I'm not stressed.
You can repeat.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome, everybody, to Wager Talk Today. And yes, we have a new look, courtesy of Joe Ranieri, Daniel, and their amazing staff. Teddy covers. I got to see the look a little later because we're doing the show. How are you, my man?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself, Lawrence?
I had a great weekend, all around outstanding weekend. One of my clients, I won a 1+155 baseball play on Saturday. Came back, won a +157 on the Washington Nationals yesterday. I won my championship hockey league, the facility champions. We played a tournament this week, won that. And it's Leafs tonight, baby. Hockey playoffs are starting. I am freaking excited, and I do have a story for you. But how did you do this weekend? How are you, and what did you learn?
Though I got to ask you one story right off the top, Prez, because you said that you quit your hockey team because they were losing. Is this the team that you joined because they were winning?
Okay, I quit a hockey team that was losing all the time like 12, 13 years ago. This hockey team wins some and loses some. Yeah, that's an old story.
Okay.
But I tweeted out a picture of me holding the mini Stanley Cup above my head. It was so much fun. Anyway, let me tell you what's going on the show today. And then I got a quick story and we'll get into what did we learn. Bryan Leonard today. He's going to look at the LA Kings, Edmonton Oilers game, Houston Astros, Seattle Mariners game. We got Jimmy Adams coming up. He's taking a look at the 76ers Heats game and the Celtics Milwaukee game, and Art Dicesare at the end of the show. Your big game breakdown, my daily presidential address. Awesome. So real quick, Friday is my dad's 78th birthday, and he decided he wanted to golf. So a whole bunch of guys went out, and I wasn't allowed to invite some of my friends. So I'm golfing with one of my friends, Anthony, and my dad. And Anthony turns to my dad and says, "Hey, Alan, so it's your 78th birthday. Happy birthday." And my dad goes, "Yes, thank you." And he goes, "You going to get head tonight?" Literally in front of me. And my dad's like, I don't think so. And he goes, when was the last time you got ahead? I drove the cart so fast away in the other direction with my dad in it. Oh my God. Who asks people these questions? Teddy, what did you learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
You ask people these type of questions, Prez, for sure.
You're right.
And that's why
I do.
Paybacks are a whole lot of fun. In terms of what I learned, look, I lost with the Celtics yesterday. And now I'm in the midst of my worst 10-game stretch in the NBA since before the All-Star break. Of course, that 10-game stretch is 6-4. And when that's my worst 10-game stretch since the All-Star break, and it's May, I'll take it. The NBA's been real good. We're back in action tonight. See if we can get back on the winning track on a run that's, better than 70% over the last 2.5 months. NFL draft grades. We have to talk about this. And I'm going to talk about it on what it means on the opening line report today. That would be 1 p.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Pacific. Drew Martin and myself will break down the NBA draft in detail. But as a quick point here, all right, NFL draft grades are all wrong always. The best draft class of the last decade, that was the Seahawks 2012 with a couple of Hall of Famers. I went back and looked today just to make sure my memory was wrong. Wasn't wrong. They were all graded D's and F's. Worst draft for the Seahawks. They got 2 Hall of Famers. And traded for Marshawn Lynch in that draft as well for a 5th-round pick, I believe. So expect the draft grades to be wrong. As our good friend Dave Sherapin says, nobody knows anything, let alone the GMs, let alone the pundits. So tap the brakes on the draft analysis. That's all I'm going to say. We'll talk about it more at the top of the hour. What about you, Prez? What'd you learn?
Oh, brother, I did not pay much attention to sports at all. I mean, hockey was off for the weekend. I put my bets in, and I went out and had a blast. I had a birthday party Saturday night. I had a hockey tournament both Saturday and Sunday, and I was at my dad's all Friday. So I learned shit all, Teddy, but here's what my kid learned about 10 minutes ago. So my kid has to do taxes, first time ever in her life. She has to do taxes. And she texts me 5 minutes before the show starts. How much? She lives in my house. How much is the internet? How much is rent, is mortgage, because I can write off a share of my room? I text her back going, those are my write-offs, not your write-offs. Oh, my God. Bryan Leonard, everyone. Bryan, it's good to have you back. Good to see you. Hockey is right in front of us. The playoffs tonight. I'm excited. How are you? And do you have anything to add to anything that has been spoken about so far on this show?
Actually, I was on the road taking care of family business for the last 2 weeks. It's nice to be able to come back and show a profit for your clients, and that's what we did. A perfect 3-0 yesterday in baseball. So I'm pretty happy. Nice to be back here in Vegas. I did miss out on all the festivities for the draft, not being in Vegas, not reading the papers or anything of that. So Teddy will have to fill me in at a later date on how it was for Vegas and the people who lived in Vegas. But yeah, I'm with you with that question about your dad. That's not something people want to hear. So I don't blame you at all for getting away from that.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, I was like in shock. Anyway. Let's get Revenant with a $5 tip. Revenant, thank you so much, my friend. And we are going to be telling you guys the charity that we're going to be donating this money to. We'll either do it later today or tomorrow. Bryan, let's dig into this, man. 4 games tonight in hockey. I'm actually going to the Leaf game. Part of my dad's present, he wrote, in Toronto, it's impossible to get tickets. The season wait list is 40 years for season tickets. You're buying tickets for thousands of dollars. I got 2 seats. I'm paying $1,000. My dad said it's on his bucket list to see a Leaf playoff game before he dies. So I called my rich brother, and I'm like, yo, rich brother, it's really important for dad to see a playoff game. I can get tickets. Why don't you take him? He's like, no, you take him. I don't even like hockey. So I'm stuck taking my dad. Anyway, which I'm excited about. I just don't want to spend the damn money. You want to talk LA Kings, Edmonton Oilers. I think this is a fascinating game. We got a cycling, fast skating Edmonton Oilers team matched up against a counter-attacking LA Kings team. Very reminiscent of Columbus versus Tampa Bay, where they swept. Reminiscent of Toronto versus Montreal last year. The two different styles. Who's going to win the game? Who do we bet on tonight?
I really think there's three teams that have a lot of pressure on them in the playoffs this year. Obviously, your hometown Toronto Maple Leafs, a team that's known to get to the playoffs and struggle. I think there's a lot of pressure on them. I think Carolina, because the last two times they've gone to the playoffs, they played Boston, and Boston has really beat them badly. But the team that has something to prove in the playoffs here with the most pressure is Edmonton. Edmonton's a team who everybody thinks is a great regular season team. Once they get to the playoffs, they're terrible. If you remember last year, Edmonton entered that first round of the playoffs. I'm a guy who really loves the playoff atmosphere. Last year, when he had a lot of teams playing the same teams very soon afterwards because of all the COVID situation, it was a great year for me on something I look forward to from handicapping wise, and that's revenge matchups. And last year, Edmonton, it's not just revenge matchups, but it's with certain parameters that I use and I chart, and they've been very successful. Last year, Edmonton, going into the playoffs, was 8-1 in games where they played a team and they lost with certain parameters. They came back the next time they played them. They went 8-1. They were the second best record in that in hockey last year. I believe Carolina might have been 8-0. And then Edmonton gets in the playoffs, first round. They go 0-3 in that situation. So they were very good in the regular season. When they got to the postseason, they were terrible in this regard. This year, once again, they go into the playoffs, but they were only 6-5 this year, and one of those was a $2 loser. So they weren't nearly as good in revenge situation in the regular season this year as they were last year. And they're playing an LA Kings team here who's been very good last year and this year in that regard. So that's one of the reasons I like LA here. The pressure situation all on Edmonton is another reason why I like LA here. And one thing, a lot of people, they're talking about the points a team produces during the regular season. Keep in mind, in the playoffs, there's no 3-on-3 overtime and there's no shootouts. This year, Edmonton was 5-1 in shootouts this year. I believe it was the best record in the NHL. So you take away those 4 points from the 104 points they scored on the season, that's 100 points if you take away what happened in the shootouts, which obviously aren't going to happen. The LA Kings were 4-4 in the shootouts, so their 99 points was what you would expect there. So this is a 1 point differential. And then when you're looking on the 3-on-3 in the overtimes, Edmonton's very talented in that regard. LA Kings not as talented. So even though we've got a 5 point differential in points at 104 to 99, if you take away what we won't see in the playoffs this year, which is the overtimes 3-on-3 and the shootouts, it's a situation here where it could be that LA may be the better team here. Now, I know when you look at season-to-date scoring, Edmonton's plus 38, LA's only plus 3. Edmonton wins and loses in a lot of blowout situations. That's why they're that good. But here they're playing an LA team. As you mentioned, this is a team that's got a really good defense. They are missing their best defensive player who's injured, will not play in the playoffs. But you got an LA team here who made the playoffs a year or two earlier than what was expected. So they're playing with found money here. And you got an Edmonton team who's coming in here with a lot of pressure after losing last year once again in the playoffs. I think this is a great buy, low opportunity here on Los Angeles. I like them. They're one of my plays I use for my clients today. I got them, I think, 170 in today's game. If you don't like them that way, you can always take the plus 1.5 here on the Kings. But to me, there's too much pressure on Edmonton in this game to want to back them when they have not played well with pressure the last few years.
So Brian says, take a look at the LA Kings to upset the Edmonton Oilers tonight. Again, you can find them in the plus 170 range, even better than that if you shop around. Brian, let's take a look at some MLB, shift our focus to the Diamonds for Monday. A limited slate, but there's certainly a good handful of marquee matchups, including the Houston Astros against the Seattle Mariners. And yeah, I'm calling Seattle a marquee team. They won 90 games last year, and they're certainly playing some decent baseball to open up 2022. The Astros expected to be competing for a title again this season. Right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. I'm seeing Houston in the minus 135 range, let's call them. Total sitting at 8.5 to the over or 9 to the under, depending on where you shop. What are we going to do with the Astros and the Mariners?
You got left-handed Gonzalez going for Seattle, righty, or Odorizzi going for Houston. Odorizzi struggled this year, but I think that's built into the line a little bit here. The game opened 120, and all the early money has come in on Houston. I got a much better line than it is now, but I'm seeing upwards of 140 circa here in Las Vegas. So the wise guys are coming in on Houston early. Most general bettors play the game later on in the day. So I pay a lot of attention to what the line moves from the overnight, and that's a play on Houston here. Houston's a team right now. They're only have an 89 RC plus against lefties this season. Haven't played them very often. But last year, Houston was number one in Major League Baseball against left-hander starters with a WRC plus of plus 117 in that regard. So that means they're 17% better last year. Right now, they're 11% worse this year than an average team on a small sample size. I'm buying into that small sample size. I think that it'll come back to some more aggression, which puts me on Houston here. And when you take a look at the standings so far this season, Seattle's 12-10, Houston's 11-11. But take a look at Houston. They played 16 games on the road, only 6 at home. So it's one of the situations where they've tied with, I believe it is Cleveland, only playing 6 home games so far this season. So they're back at home. Most of their games have been on the road, 10 more games on the road. And the way it looks right now from a standpoint of playing teams over 500, Seattle 6-7, Houston 7-9. So they played 16 games on the road, 16 games against teams right now with a current better than 500 record. Now they're playing Seattle, another team better than 500 record right now at 12-10. So we've got Houston's played a real tough schedule so far. They're only one game behind in the standings. They're playing a left-handed pitcher in Gonzalez, who's more of a finesse pitcher. He's not going to blow this Houston team away. And Odorizzi's gotten off to a bad start. I think, he's not a great pitcher by any account, but he's pitching below his standards. I think we got a good effort here out of Houston. The line's telling you the Houston's the right side, open in 120, 140. We're getting to the point now. If it gets to 145, that would be the max I would play here on Houston. We've lost some value. But I like these teams that get off to a little bit lesser start, and they played a lot of games against good teams, a lot of games on the road. Now they're back at home. I like Houston in this game. I think we've got some value here.
Yeah. Outstanding stuff, Brian. And I like Houston as well. It's one of my free picks up on the site, and I'll talk about it a little bit in the daily presidential address. Bryan Leonard, everyone. What a pro. It's $9 Monday. What do you have up for the clients?
I've got nothing for these clients that have been nice enough to tune into the show, as I gave you both my best bets for today. So I saved you $9 on the package. Hopefully we can get out and get some winners. And just want to let you know, NBA playoffs last year, I was terrific. Number 1 on the site in NBA playoffs. I've been very good in the NHL playoffs, finished number 2 this season, regular season. So even though I don't have anything to sell to those people watching today, keep in mind for the future, with the playoffs going on right now, and with baseball heating up, you want to join us for some nice packages. And we've got some nice values that just went out today for everybody for the next month or so, next 30, 40 days, some really nice packages. So nice savings for you there. Let's get a couple winners, and best of luck to everyone today.
Thanks, Bryan Leonard. Bryan Leonard, everybody, you can find him at WagerTalk.com. Teddy covers. We told everybody that we are going to donate all tips that come into this show to charity. We have chosen the 3 charities. We are going to split the money equally between the 3 charities. The first charity is Wounded Warriors. That, given that Revenant was one of our big tippers and he served, we feel that it is appropriate and a hell of a great charity. Opportunity Village and BBBS.org. Anything to add to that, my friend?
Yes, BBB, that's Big Brothers, Big Sisters.org. We're going to do Opportunity Village that helps homeless people. So we're doing a Big Brother, Big Sister, help for the wounded warriors, help for the homeless. That's the 3 charities that we chose. All tips will be donated to that. We will match up to $250 donated to those 3 charities. We'll split it between them. Thank you for your support.
Absolutely. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. We got Teddy's Big Game Breakdown, Jimmy Adams, NBA Talk, and Art Dicesare still to come.
How would you like to bet right alongside your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper for the next 40 days for under $5 per day? Well, we have you covered. A 30-day all-access pass is priced at $299, but for a limited time, not only are we discounting the price by $100, but adding on 10 more days of picks for free. So outside of the $100 discount, we are tossing in a free 3-day all-access, a $39 value, and a free 7-day all-access, a $99 value for a combined savings of $238. So to recap, for the next 40 days, you will get all plays across all sports from your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper played during your access, including 5% best bets for under $5 per day. Have an existing all-access pass? No worries, as your 40 days will not begin until your current package expires.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. And let's go with some early start MLB for Monday. First pitch in this game less than 2 hours from now. That would be the White Sox and the LA Angels. Look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. Lots of money for Chicago this morning. Seeing minus 140s, minus 145s now on the board for the White Sox. Total 7.5 to the under. Bettors aren't expecting a whole lot of runs on the south side today. I used this series on Friday as my big game breakdown. I talked about the LA Angels were the right side and the White Sox are a team to fade. That hasn't changed over the weekend. Okay, the White Sox just had their first losing month since 2019. They're 4-12 their last 16 against the Angels. They're 1-4 on their current homestand. And yeah, they rallied down 6-0 in the ninth, made things sweat and a half. 6-5 final with the bases loaded. But what did they do with the one key at bat that finally could have won them a game? Yeah, it was a ground out to first base. That's what the White Sox lineup has been doing all year long. And the market's all hot and heavy for Chicago this morning. I get it. Ohtani's not going to play today. Well, Ohtani didn't play yesterday either. All right. The closer, Raisel Iglesias, isn't going to be able to go today. He threw 26 pitches yesterday and got pulled. Okay. It's not like the White Sox have been all these one-run games they're losing. They're losing everything. Chicago can hit. They're right now, in terms of profitability, the only teams that are worse than the White Sox are the Reds, the Nationals, and the Rangers, all absolute bottom feeders. The market's still excited about Chicago, still pricing Chicago as a favorite. Not for this better. Give me LA at the plus price in early start MLB action on Monday. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers. I missed Friday's show. One of our listeners, Gordon, wonderful guy. He said you and Rob Vino were very high on the Celtics future-wise. They lost. They want to know. They want to know. Are they a bet right now? I think they're plus 120 to win the series.
If you're going to bet Boston, so the concept was, if you like Boston in game one, you bet Boston prior to game one for the game, and you bet them for the series. Obviously, the Celtics lost game one, and they lost it pretty badly. They did not play well start to finish. There was no run in the second half of that game for Boston. It was really, they made a little run before halftime, and the Bucks went on a little run to go back up 10, and felt like that was it. But the bottom line is, if you like Boston prior to game one, and you didn't see anything that you hated, absolutely, you look at plus 120 right now. That being said, I feel like my opinion of the series changed a little bit after that first game.
Yeah.
And I'm not rushing to the window today to bet more Boston after I lost with the Celtics yesterday. So that's my take on what to do right now with Celtics and Bucks. I'm holding what I already have, but I'm not buying more.
Teddy,
Yes.
let's keep talking NBA. Jimmy Adams joining us. You can find him at WagerTalk.com. Wearing the Pat Riley. How are you, Jimmy?
I'm doing pretty well, Prez. Baseball season has really took a turn. 7-1 last 8.
Nice.
We hit a couple 5%ers last week. 4-0 run on them. I think 80% in MLB 5% plays since August of last year. So rolling right now on the diamond.
Awesome stuff. Well, let's talk NBA. 76ers tonight playing the Heat. One of our listeners asked, why is everybody on the Heat questionable? Are they trying to manipulate the lines? That I will say no. But Jimmy, how do we bet this game, especially given the lack of information?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is use an angle called the fallen star theory, and it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm sure you've talked about it before on the show, but Joel Embiid essentially goes down, a star goes down on a team, and everyone looks to rally behind him, and they essentially overperform. And I think that's what's going to happen here tonight. This line has gotten way too high for my liking. I think it's overinflated at this point to lay with Miami. 76ers 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 on 3 days of rest or more. So Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero are going to play tonight from everything I'm hearing. Kyle Lowry been ruled out.
Yeah.
And Embiid obviously out, but the 76ers still have plenty of talent to compete here. You're going to look for guys like James Harden to step up, obviously, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, who had 25 points and 8 assists in his last game. He's going to need to have a big game. And, DeAndre Jordan is going to have to clog the middle and play some defense and step it up in the absence of Embiid. I think that the 76ers are the right side, plus the price. They've been in this situation before. Just go back to March 31st when they played the Heat. That game was at home, but they won without Embiid there. And I like having this many points in our pocket.
Plus 7.5 with the 76ers, says Jimmy Adams, for Monday night NBA. Let's take a look at tomorrow's NBA card, in particular, the Bucks and the Celtics game 2. Not much went right for Boston yesterday. Jason Tatum couldn't hit. Jaylen Brown couldn't hit. And the role players for the Celtics unable to make up the slack. Pretty much Milwaukee wire to wire. But of course, this is the NBA playoffs. The betting markets expect bounce backs. The betting markets expect zigzags. We're seeing Boston minus 4.5 for game 2. Total sitting 215, 215.5. There are still a couple of 4s out there for the Celtics. Do we expect Boston to rebound from that game 1 loss? Or has Milwaukee found something they can exploit moving forward? Jimmy?
Yeah, so I jumped on this game right out the gate at -4. I still like it at -4.5. Look, this Boston team was fresh off a sweep of the Nets, probably feeling themselves a little bit, thinking they were just going to cruise here in game 1. And they got punched in the mouth, losing 101-89 behind a triple-double from the Greek Freak. The Greek Freak's going to get his stats. He's a very good player. He's added the jump shot to his arsenal. But what Boston really needs to do is key in on guys like Drew Holiday, who goes for 25 points and 10 rebounds. Bobby Portis, 15 points, 11 boards. This is a Milwaukee team that remains without Chris Middleton. So it's imperative that Boston not go down 0-2 here. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have to shoot better than 10 of 31 combined, especially without Chris Middleton in there to help on the defensive end. 18 of 50 from 3 and 33% from the floor. That's just not going to get it done. So I think that game 1 was a wake-up call for Boston, and this is still an elite defense. They're going to make the proper adjustments, and we can feel confident laying the rather short chalk that Boston bounces back in a big way. Give me the Celtics tomorrow night.
So you're the coach of the Celtics. What adjustments do you make? Because what Milwaukee did yesterday defensively was kept the Celtics out of the paint completely and forced them to be a perimeter jump shooting team. What adjustments can Boston make to change that? Because it sure seemed to me like they were very comfortable jacking up bad threes and contested threes all game yesterday.
Yeah, so if you're not going to be able to clog the middle, you're going to have to either get to the foul line or you're going to have to make more shots. Now, this is a Boston team that's much more talented than they showed yesterday. So I don't expect them to shoot 18 of 50 from three again. Like I said, the other adjustments on the defensive side, we saw this great defensive team all season long. You're not going to stop Giannis, but key in on guys. Don't let Bobby Portis go off. Don't let Drew go off. The Bucks are going to jack up a bunch of threes as well. Get in their face and contest those shots, and you'll come away with a victory.
Jimmy Adams, everyone. Jimmy, it's $9 Mondays. What do you have for your clients today over at WagerTalk.com?
One solo baseball play up today, 7-1 last 8. A bunch of people already on it. If you're not already, it's just $9. Go get that winner tonight. We got a dog for you that goes in a little bit. So let's make some more money.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for your time today. Jimmy Adams, everybody, and Teddy. Art Dicesare segment is imminent, about to begin. I'm excited. I mean, what a time of year. NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, baseball heating up. Art, where are you, bro? Do we have an Art? Oh, I hear you. There you are. How are you, man? Yep.
This really is a great underrated time of the year. A big Canelo fight in town, so lots going on.
I was just gonna say, you call it Kentucky Derby week, and Canelo must be upset. It's Canelo week as far as he's concerned, and we're gonna be looking at that fight on Wednesday with Kevin Dolan. Teddy, get some info out of him, and we'll leave hockey to the end.
Sure. Well, we got to talk NFL draft right off the top. Obviously, the draft is over, and we haven't talked about it all on today's show, with the exception of me saying that every draft analysis is wrong, like it always is. Art, the reports out of New Jersey said that Thursday, the opening round of the NFL draft, was the single worst day of the year for the sports books. They got pounded. All the baseball favorites hit. All the basketball favorites hit, and basically the wise guys cleaned up. NFL draft-wise. How did the Westgate Superbook do for the NFL draft? Was it as bad as it was back in Jersey?
No, I don't want to say that. But, Teddy, we kind of treat the draft as you have to have it. It's become a big thing now. Obviously, with it being in town, you're going to have probably more bets than you normally would have had if the draft was anywhere else. But the draft really is like a sharp market. The lines move so quickly. By the time someone is betted at 150, it gets to 350. So we kind of just treat it as if we don't get slaughtered, we lose a little bit on that, we'll just take that because we know we have to have it. And it's not really the public people who are betting the draft. It's the sharper guys who are betting the draft.
So let me ask you this then. Being that the sharper guys are betting the draft, and the sharper guys tend to be the ones that get involved with NFL futures at this time of the year, have we seen any futures adjusted for the NFL based on the draft yet? Have the wise come in and said, oh, the Jets are way better than we thought they were, or the Chiefs are way worse than we thought they were, or whatever it might be? Have you adjusted anything in the future book on a Monday morning based off the draft this past week?
Yeah, absolutely. I always look at it like this: after the draft, free agency, all these things, the top of the board really doesn't move. Your favorites are still going to be where they are. Bucks and Bills, 7-1, not much movement. The bottom feeders like the Jets and the Giants and the Texans, they're not going to move much off 100-1. It's kind of the middle sandwich teams that move. The Eagles obviously have a good draft. They trade for A.J. Brown. They go from 50-1 to 30-1. Titans, they move back now from 20 to 30-1 because of the trade. Who knows if they're trying to get rid of Tannehill? They draft a quarterback from Liberty. And then the Ravens are interesting too. They went from 30-1 to 20-1. They had a really good draft. and it's probably a team that will take, they took a step back last year, a lot of kind of weird losses. They didn't play well. Probably they'll be better this year. So that was a team that moved up. So it's the middle group teams in like the 20, 30, 40 to 51 range that you see the movement on after the draft.
Great info from Art Dicesare talking NFL draft and NFL futures. Art, let's just focus to what's going on right now. We got all summer to break down the NFL. And from here, the lines, you see some initial movement right after the draft, and they kind of sit for a month or two. So in terms of urgency, NBA tonight, probably ahead of NFL for September. Let's talk about the two games this evening. We had the 76ers and the Heat. Obviously, Embiid out, a huge move towards Miami in that game. Mavs and the Suns. What are you seeing in terms of sharp action? What are you seeing in terms of public action for the two game ones in the semifinal round of the two conferences in the NBA tonight?
So the first one, Sixers Heat, there's just not been a lot on it. I think there's a couple of things. Obviously, Embiid being out is huge, but I know you guys touched on it in the previous segment. Miami's got a lot of their own injury concerns too. So it's just really hard for people to figure out where to go on that game. So there hasn't been a lot of money that's come in yet. And eventually we will get money. It's a NBA playoff game. We'll get it eventually. I think the second game is the more interesting, more intriguing game. Suns at home, game one against the Mavs. I don't want to say it's been a lot of Sun money because there hasn't been a lot of movement, but it's definitely shaded more towards the Suns so far. I think them getting Booker back maybe a little bit earlier than people expected is kind of obviously a big plus for them. And despite Doncic and as good as Brunson has played, I don't think the Mavericks beat a really good Jazz team. So I think people aren't really that high on the Mavericks. They might be high on Doncic, but if the Suns are healthy and right, they should take care of business. So, probably 55%, maybe a little bit higher right now on the Suns money coming in.
So we're really not talking crazy one-sided action for either of these two playoff games tonight, side or total. It's not one of these games where all the pros are on this side or all the Joes are on that side. Not for either contest. Is that right, Art?
Yeah, definitely not. Nothing that would stand out where I'm like, oh, you got to see this, or there's so much on the over, so much on the under, or one side is really crazy. It's not really like that on either of these games, and especially that first game. Like I said, it's gotten pretty low handled so far.
Well,
Art Dicesare.
76ers, a low-handled NBA playoff game. Let's shift our focus to MLB for tonight. Anything actionable stand out on the baseball slate, a limited baseball slate for Monday?
It is a limited slate. I'd say the one that has jumped out is Sharp and Public are both on Miami tonight. Miami opened minus 140. We're now sitting minus 154. I think Miami is very underrated on how they played. And when you bet Miami, you're betting their pitching. And their pitching is phenomenal. Pablo Lopez, who goes tonight 3-0. I think he's given up one earned run. He's got like a .6 ERA. So their pitching is phenomenal. We know obviously Arizona is limited offensively. So pretty good movement, basically a 15-cent move with the Miami Marlins tonight. So good Marlin money coming in early.
Art Dicesare, Art, I love having you on here, man. Can't thank you enough. Every Monday, always so professional and more importantly, responsible. Art, let's talk NHL, man. It begins tonight. I'm hoping you tell me that some betting guru walked in and laid $10 million on the Leafs to win it all, but highly unlikely. Let's just, if you know of a futures bet that you've seen or love, let us know. Otherwise, there's 4 games tonight. I'd love to know your opinion, and I have a quick question as well. Carolina, Boston. I look at this line and I say minus 110. Is this indicative of the fact that Carolina has no fans betting them? They're a smaller team, smaller market, and Boston's got an army behind them? Because this line looks short to me.
Prez, I'm so happy you brought that one up because this is the one that has puzzled me the most. I think there's a couple of things. I think you're right. Carolina doesn't have a big fan base. Boston does. Boston has owned Carolina when they've played them in these playoffs. But, man, Carolina, if you just look at what they did against Boston this year, 3-0, 16-1 they beat them. Anderson had 2 shutouts. Like, they were so good against Boston this year. Like, yeah. I'm confused, like, even the series line. Like, we have Carolina minus 120. I'm like, that seems like free money to me. Like, Carolina's just better than Boston. But you and I both know the NHL playoffs are the biggest crapshoot because an 8 seed can win. It doesn't matter. Your goalie gets hot, but I'm probably getting the best goalie in the league in this series, and I'm getting minus 120. So I'm very confused by it. I think it's the Boston, I don't know. That's just how I feel.
The best goalie in the league?
Well, him or Igor.
Okay. Art. Anyway, listen, I'm with you conceptually on Carolina. The series line baffled me. The line tonight baffled me. And what I love from a Carolina perspective is they play the same style of game. They're both counterpunchers. Neither of them cycle a ton. They're both vicious. It's going to be violent as hell. And when two teams match up with the same style, I want the better goalie and the better forwards. And Carolina has both. Anything else jump out at you hockey-wise? Minnesota, St. Louis, another fascinating game. Both teams coming in super hot. Anything else quick?
So I think on that series, we had the Wild open like minus 160, 165 to win the series. It's now minus 140 for the Wild. So some pretty good blue money has come in for the series. And that's two teams that are going to score. There'll probably be a lot of goals in those games. Yeah. Both teams scored a lot of goals. We had the total opened at 6. It's now 6.5. So I think if you're looking at that series, probably a lot of goals in the series and probably a series that goes 7, but early money is coming on the Blues.
Yeah. And rightfully so. Art Dicesare, everyone. Can't thank Art enough. What a show. Teddy, baby, we got over 100 likes. Art, what do you got to promote? And then we're going into the daily presidential address.
Well, like always, guys, just come down to the Westgate Superbook. Anytime you need anything, you can ask for me. I might be in the back now, but I can still pop my head out and come talk to you and just, help you get set up with whatever you need, whether it's the app or seats or drink tickets or anything. Just come down, ask for Arthur Dicesare, and I'll be more than happy to help you at the Westgate.
Art Dicesare, everyone. Dan, cue it up, baby. Dan?
He's getting there.
Daniel. It's $9 Mondays, everybody. All plays from all handicappers over at WagerTalk.com, only $9. I have a massive slate going tonight. I have 2 NHL plays. I'm on a 37-14 run in the NHL. I'm up profit on the year. I'm up 80 units since December 1st. My NHL is absolute must play. In baseball, I have 2 baseball plays, and if you buy that package for only $9, you get a bonus NBA play. I'm on a 5-1 baseball run. 3 of those are dogs, 2 over plus 150. I'm absolutely rolling. 3-1 NBA run. Go to WagerTalk.com and play my plays tonight. Now, 2 free bets for tonight, and I am betting both these plays. The first is the Carolina Hurricanes. We spoke about that in depth with Art Dicesare on Wager Talk today. I think this line is skewed. I think it's largely indicative of the fact that Boston has a massive betting army behind them. Carolina is a better team by far. You're getting them on a short price. Take Carolina tonight at home. The other one is the Houston Astros. We spoke in depth with Bryan Leonard about this game. I like Houston at minus 135. Teddy covers. I'm having a pastrami sandwich on rye from Panzers. Take us home, brother.
That's going to wrap it for the Monday edition of Wager Talk Today. I want to thank Jimmy Adams, Bryan Leonard, and Art Dicesare for joining us. I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your busy day to hang with the Wager Talk Today crew. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and then, you know what to do. 1, enjoy the games. And 2, good luck.
How would you like to bet right alongside your favorite Wager Talk or Sports Memo handicapper for the next 40 days for under $5 per day?